What's going on, everybody? You got me, you got Jeffrey. It's playoff time. We're here to chat. Even though it's been a while, we will recap the quarterfinals and then we'll get into the semis with some portal, some other college football topics I have on my mind, and maybe NFL too. So, yeah, it's been a minute because our schedules clash, but we're back. What's up, Jeffrey?
Hey, Will, definitely excited to do the show again. It's been a while, man. Like, had the holidays, Christmas, and New Year's, tons of stuff going on with that. But this is a perfect time to be back for another show because, like you said, jam-packed with stuff to talk about, recapping the playoff games, previewing the playoff games. Like you said, maybe some NFL talk, lots of portal news. I mean, it is jam-packed. And we already got Jackson in the house saying, "What's up, Only Talk Sports Nation?" And a $5 super chat. Appreciate that, Jackson. Says, "Let's get Only Talk Sports at 5,000 subs. Indiana Voice of College Football to 1,000, and will indeed at 1,000. And can't forget the Alabama channel. Let's get that to 3,000. We're getting there on that one, but definitely Will's been making some content over on his channel. Let's get that to 1,000 subs, and definitely Only Talk Sports 5,000. We're trying to get there, so definitely appreciate that, Jackson. Always appreciate your support, and definitely excited about doing the show with you tomorrow as well for Alabama at the Voice of College Football. But can't wait to get into all the stuff we got to talk about tonight.
All right. So, of course, we got the quarterfinal action. And we'll start, I guess, chronologically with Penn State and Boise State. I felt like I feel like Genty still did all right. There we go. Mm-hmm. Like, he was able to, not have many negative plays, but, his line just did not help him enough in this one for him to really get going.
I mean, this was one of those games where you could just tell the talent gap on the lines of scrimmage was too tough. I mean, Genty, like you said, to his credit, did everything he could. You knew that he would, but I mean, Boise just was not able to push the lines of scrimmage really at all. I mean, Genty, the fact that he got as many yards as he did was pretty remarkable. They just didn't really have enough time, for their quarterback to throw the ball downfield. Because, I mean, Boise an underrated part of their offense was that their receivers were not bad. I mean, Cam Camper, he was a transfer from Indiana. I mean, they had some solid options on the outside, but just couldn't really get that going because they couldn't keep their quarterback upright consistently. And, I mean, Penn State took advantage of all of Boise's mistakes. Boise made so many mistakes in this game. That's the one thing I can remember from this game and take away from it. It's like if Boise did not miss the field goals and turn the ball over so much, they actually would have had a shot to win. This game is a lot closer than the score would indicate, but Penn State just definitely capitalized off Boise State's mistakes.
I mean, I felt like Madsen, he wasn't as bad as Jennings. I mean, Jennings was brutal. Yeah. No. I mean, he still got 300 yards, but he did have the 3 picks, and that's part of the reason why is that he just didn't have that much time to throw.
Every single time Boise got down the field, they turned it over every time. And then the missed field goals, too. I mean, it was just brutal because they outgained Penn State, if I believe. I could be wrong, but I actually think Boise State outgained Penn State. The lines of scrimmage, it mostly hurt Genty, being able to break out for big runs and Madsen's 3 picks, but they did their best. I mean, it's not like they got manhandled like SMU did. They did better, but still, just if they didn't turn the ball over as much as they did, I think they would have had a shot. But you just can't turn it over. I think they had 5 turnovers because Madsen had 3 picks. Genty fumbled twice too. That was 5 turnovers. It was brutal.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, good year for Boise State. Did they – I mean, I felt like they probably wouldn't have done all right if they would have had a first-round game. Maybe they all would have played a little better if it was at home. But, I mean, still a good bounce-back year for Boise State. Can they be one of those G5 teams that always gets in again without him? We'll see. But I do think Spencer Danielson's done a good job there.
Yeah, I mean, this was Boise's, most relevant year, best season since, their heyday back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I mean, people have been saying Boise has been trailing downward. They were the standard for the group of 5, but they've been trailing downward last few seasons and got rid of Avalos, Spencer Danielson, and hey, I mean, they're to be back. But with Genty gone, like you said, it'd be interesting to see how they do in the future. I think it will be pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but it's doable for them to, have another year where they, can go 11-1, next season. But once they get to this point, will they be competitive? Because, I mean, a big reason why people were so high on Boise was the fact they barely lost to Oregon. I mean, that game is why people were talking so highly of them. Now, they didn't talk about the Wyoming game and some of their other games, but they didn't look good either. Boise was a good team, and they had a star player, but still just not as good as a Penn State or a Notre Dame. Not as good as teams like that. They don't have the talent, but I think they can win games in the future. It'll just be interesting to see if they'll have any shot to compete, because I feel like they competed here. They just made mistakes.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the refs once again bailing out the SEC in this Peach Bowl game. Arizona State.
This game, man, oh my gosh, this was a classic. It was a classic, but yeah, Arizona State should have won. Absolutely should have won this game, and I would have never thought in my life that I would be saying that right now. I thought that when this game happened, Texas would easily win, because, I mean, Arizona State had a good year. Don't get me wrong, Dillingham definitely had a case for Coach of the Year, but you just could not give it to Kurt Cignetti with how bad Indiana has been. You just could not give it to him. But Dillingham did fantastic, and Levitt was really good, surprisingly. Scatabo was fantastic. I mean, he warmed everybody's hearts for his effort in this game. Played great, despite, again, another game where the lines of scrimmage was heavily tilted the other team's way. Texas, just so much more talent. It's D-line, man. It's incredible. Scatabo got as many yards as he did, but Texas shouldn't have won. Actually, they should not have won, and they did get bailed out, and that's what's frustrating, because nobody's gonna say that if it's the other way around. If Arizona State got a win based off a lucky call, then everybody be saying, yeah, they won because of a lucky call or the refs helped them, whatever. But since Texas wins, it's like no one says anything, and that's what's frustrating, because it was clear. But nothing you can do about it. I mean, Texas survived and not really impressing anybody ahead of their showdown coming up in a couple days. Nobody's really high on Texas at all.
I mean, they're gonna need more from Bond. Like, Golden can't do it all, the receiver. They need the complimentary guys to do more.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, because, I mean, Bond coming over from Alabama, like you'd think, he would just ball out. And yeah, Golden's been the guy. Golden's been really good, played well, but Bond's been kind of silent, and he's better than that. Ewers is just, I don't know. Ewers is good. He is good, but there are moments where he just isn't as advertised. You know what I mean? Like, he's supposed to be better, you would think, especially
Just
with
like him and Milrow, man, they're similar in that way.
It's true. Milrow really faded, though. Like, Ewers hasn't been that bad. I still feel like Milrow just did not benefit at all from the system that was being run. The change in coach, the change in style of play, it did not benefit Milrow. I still think Milrow's a good player. I think that if he goes to the right team in the NFL, he can have a shot. But Bama did not do him any favors this year. If Saban was still the coach, he would have had a better season.
I'm not sold on Sark. I mean, I think Sark wins because of his talent and in spite of his coaching. Like, I'm not sold on this guy being
Sark's like James Franklin, but with better players. That's the difference. Like, Texas has better players across the board than Penn State. Like, Penn State recruits very well, but Texas recruits better. And I mean, it's so hard to judge and gauge, because the ability to tell how good a coach is when you're at the top of the sport is actually difficult, because when you have elite talent, how much of it is the coach? Because you'd be like, well, the coach is bringing in the talent, but you also got to realize this: money is bringing in the talent. Auburn's bringing in tons of talent, and they suck. So that's not really, I would say, as big of a deal for a coach these days. It still matters, but I think it matters more at programs like Indiana, when you see Kurt Cignetti bringing in quality players for Indiana standards. That's a bigger deal than, oh my gosh, look what Sark's doing at Texas when anybody with a pulse could do that at Texas. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes it not as impressive. And then you see games like this where if he was a better coach, potentially Texas would have won this game the way they should have won this game, and they didn't. Because I mean, you can't say Franklin and Sark are bad because they win, but like you said, is it in spite of the talent, right? Like the talent's great, but it's like that's the only reason that they're winning anything, and that's what's frustrating because you could even say that about Kirby. You can say it about Kirby. I mean, Kirby won national titles because his teams were the most talented, but guess what? His teams aren't the most talented anymore. What's going on with Kirby? They're not winning. He should have been 8-5 this year. That's what I'm saying. That's the issue. Can a coach win despite a lack of talent? Because that's the thing. Like, I love Nick Saban to death. I think he's the greatest coach of all time. I'm not, like he what he did for Alabama football, it will never be forgotten, and it will always cement Alabama among the elite. And in a lot of people's minds, the best program in college football or second best, whatever. But what if he didn't have as much talent? How much would he want? Like, that's the problem. You can't gauge. I've always said, what if Nick Saban was at Indiana? How much would he win at Indiana prior to NIL? I think with NIL now, I think he'd win pretty well at IU, but because Signetti's doing it. But before NIL, would he? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. But that's the thing. It's hard. I agree with you. I don't think Sark's that great either, but it's really hard to say because when you have that much talent, it's just almost too big to fail in most games.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Kirk said a lot of things about a certain school that Jeffrey likes and talking down to them too. Like, it just wasn't, and like saying like who shouldn't be in the playoffs. So I don't know. I think Kirby's talking out of his butt in this one.
The problem is that Kirk Herbstreit's talking in circles. He's not
Yeah.
answering anything. I mean, he clearly said that Indiana did not deserve to be in the playoff. That's what he said. And he said that there were other teams that were more deserving. But then people were calling him out saying, well, if Indiana doesn't get in, then Bama gets in. He's like, well, Alabama didn't need to be in either. Well, why are you saying that, Herbie? Because guess what? If Alabama had to beat Michigan by 40, then what would everybody be saying? Because that's what people are saying about Ole Miss. Well, they beat Duke, crappy Duke, by 35. Oh, Ole Miss should have been in the playoffs because they destroyed Duke. Okay. None of those teams deserve to be, and that's what I tried to explain to DeReal on the other show with me and Jackson last week on the Alabama show. Deserved and best teams are two different things. Alabama on paper is one of the 12 best teams in college football because of their talent. Ole Miss arguably is one of the 12 best teams in college football based off talent. Were they one of the 12 most deserving teams? No, they were not. Alabama did not deserve to get it. And then DeReal was telling me that they did deserve to get it. No, you're looking at it based on talent, saying that they're one of the 12 best teams. That's not how it works. If you're going off one of the 12 best teams, Bama was in. Bama did not deserve to get in because they had 3 losses and 2 of them to teams that suck. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's the problem. Indiana deserved to get in because they won the games that they were scheduled to play. And I don't care about the Louisville game. I don't care. That wouldn't have even moved the needle in any way. It doesn't matter. Indiana won 11-1. They beat Michigan. They did enough. They got in the playoff. And it's the whole point that I've been saying the whole time. If you didn't expand the playoff, then Indiana and Notre Dame and Ohio State and Bama, none of these teams would be in the playoff. None of them. So it's like, it's your fault, media and all these people that wanted to expand the playoff for money. But you expand the playoff, and now you're saying, oh, well, Indiana didn't deserve to get. Dude, if you didn't want Indiana in the playoff, you shouldn't have expanded it. It's your fault. It's your fault. It literally is your fault. And that's what irritates me. And yeah, he's going in circles because he knows that he screwed up with what he said. He's getting called out for it, and there's no way he can win. So basically, the best thing that, unfortunately, for Herbie to do is just stop talking because he's lost. He lost on what he said. He lost on his take on IU. He's lost on his take on Bama. And the whole playoff discussion, he's on the back end. He does not know how to fix what he has said because it's just flat out wrong. Like I said, in the past, I really, really liked Herbie. And I'm not going to just completely trash the guy because of the fact I don't know him personally. I mean, a lot of people, like Herbie a lot. Like his dog recently passed away. It was, sad thing. Like Herbie, I've always like really liked him when I was younger, but he's not talking the way he used to talk. And I feel like that's who he works for more than himself. And that's what irritates me about the Herbie situation, because he's saying ridiculous things. It's ridiculous.
All right, I'm going to move on to Herbie's alma mater, Ohio State, putting it on Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like Scotty B just said, this is why we play the games, folks. Not the better team always. Look what we just saw. Florida lost to Kentucky. Florida just destroyed Tennessee, the number one team in college basketball, and then Kentucky loses to Georgia. That's the way it works. That's the way sports work. Indiana beat Michigan, but Bama couldn't do it. I still think Bama's better than Indiana. They're way better than Indiana.
I think Indiana would win if they played.
Yeah, they would, probably. But Alabama's still the better team on paper.
Yeah,
Yeah, on paper, because they got 5 stars all over the place. But and Indiana doesn't. But Indiana probably would win because the way Bama was playing this year and the way that they were coached was just not very good. Yeah, Jackson says, thank goodness Tennessee lost. Yeah, it keeps Indiana's streak alive of being the last undefeated team. So I'm happy about that. That's good. But this game, back to football, it's hard to beat a team twice in the same season, right? And Ohio State couldn't do it, obviously, man. They, or not Ohio State, but Oregon, rather, couldn't do it because they squeaked by Ohio State the first time, and that's what Buckeye fans kept pointing out, was like the Oregon barely beat us. They beat us on the last play, like just if Will Howard goes down 1 second earlier. But then Ohio State just turns around this time and just destroys them. Who's the better team? I mean, probably on talent. I mean, it's very close. Maybe barely Ohio State, but I mean, Oregon was a very good team this year. But I don't know. I mean, I did you expect this? I mean, I thought Ohio State would win this time.
I thought it would win. I thought Ohio State would win and it would be close. So
yeah.
But I think the one thing that Dr. Buckeye said, and even though he's a Buckeye fan, I do think that before the game against Ohio State, Oregon wouldn't really – Dylan Gabriel wouldn't throw it deep. But in the Ohio State game, he threw it deep, and like Ohio State wasn't ready for it. And this time they were prepared for it. And I do think that definitely helped Ohio State.
It's true. And plus, look at the rushing yards. I mean, Oregon didn't run at all.
Well, they were behind, and then they just –
I know, but like you just can't win when you are not running the ball. I mean, the only way you can do that, like I remember when Indiana played Ohio State back in 2020, and Penix threw for 500 yards, and still Indiana lost. Indiana didn't run the ball at all, like none in that game, because that was Tom Allen, no O-line, right? But Penix threw for 500 yards, still didn't win. Dylan Gabriel, like if you're not going to run the ball, Oregon, like because you're behind, like Gabriel had to throw for like 400 plus yards to have a chance, and it did not happen. So, Ohio State, I mean, they're playing the way that everybody thought that they were going to play at the beginning of the season, and they really didn't, because they had the Nebraska game. I mean, I don't really think anybody was that impressed with the Penn State game. I mean, I know they won.
No one was. No one was impressed.
It was not impressive. Like Ohio State fans kept trying to tell me, "Oh, it was impressive." Was it? I mean, honestly, that was probably Penn State's worst game of the season. If Penn State had played the way that they've played more toward the end of the season, then I think that game would have maybe been Penn State's game. But Penn State sucked in that game. Outside of the pick six, they were terrible against Ohio State in that game. Ohio State is a much different playing team right now than they were in that Penn State game, in the Nebraska game. I mean, the Michigan game woke them up. I honestly don't think that if they beat Michigan, we'll never know. But I think if they beat Michigan, I don't think they're doing this. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not here. They still
could be. Yeah, they definitely could be winning, but I think they would be much closer games.
Yes, they're proving something. But I still don't know why they couldn't do it against Michigan, though. I don't understand that. I don't know why they let that game slip through their fingers. But then now
I think it was Ryan Day wanting to look like a tough guy. I think that's why they lost.
No, I mean, all I know is that the way they played against Tennessee and the way that they played against Oregon, they look like the number one team in college football. But see, that can change on a dime. We're going to talk about the next game later. But the thing is that Ohio State, you think, well, oh my gosh, look at the way they're playing. They're going to win it all. And then they just choke next game. You never know. They could.
They could. Yeah.
Look at this. I agree. I think it's mental problems. I actually do. I feel like there's always been this in sports because players get distracted by things and stuff gets to their head. But I feel like now in the modern era with phones, social media, just people are just all over the place with that stuff. You see so much, man, swing game to game. College basketball, college football, swings game to game, where one game your team looks like the best team in the sport, and then the next game they suck. They just suck. I mean, we're seeing it more and more. I mean, Tennessee, man, what was that? Like, I don't care what you want to say. That's not good for the sport. Like all I heard all day today was how big the slate was in college basketball tonight, and like you said, basically the slate was trash. It was supposed to be a great slate, and it was trash. All the games were trash. That's not good. And I feel like results like this aren't good either. And this really validates the whole IU slander because we're seeing blowouts among blowouts. Like this game, right? Was this game any different than Ohio State, Indiana? No, wasn't any different. How do we know that if Indiana didn't play Ohio State again, the game's not good? We don't know that. That's the problem. Football is played in a vacuum. It's one game. This game right here, if you replay it, is not like this. And a different scenario. Ohio State beats Michigan. They're not as fired up. This game could go Oregon's way again. You just don't know. That's the problem, though. Like these games are so out of whack because the teams are inconsistent. And they've always been. There's always been inconsistencies in sports. But now in this modern era with social media, I feel like players, man, they're not focused game to game, so much so that you get results like this so much more frequently. And I don't think it's good for the sport because it just ruins interest. Like people watching a game and it's already a blowout in the first half, you're going to turn it off. Yeah, so I don't know, but that's just my take. I could be completely wrong, but it's just partially my opinion, I think, of why these games are just so weird on the score.
I mean, Troy, he also got the most heat on him that he did all game by Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. I mean, that also was part of it, Troy. That might have been part of the problem.
Well, Curtis Rourke played with a torn ACL, I've heard, all season long. And it had a broken thumb for the last half of the season. So, I mean, based off that, Curtis Rourke shouldn't even be able to play. He had a broken thumb on his.
No wonder he couldn't run away from pass rushers.
Yeah, like because if you notice, I think that the rumors or the reports, it's not even rumors, it's actually been reported by every major news outlet. But I think it's legit because in the spring game, Rourke didn't have a brace on his knee, and through fall camp, he did not have a brace on his knee. But then in that first game against FIU, he had a brace on his knee. He didn't have a brace during fall camp or the spring game. He had a brace all season. Yeah, because dude, when he ran the ball, man, he looked terrible, dude. Like he was running, he was running like an 80-year-old. It was horrible. But I think it's
probably
legit.
is
I think
true.
he had a partially torn ACL. It wasn't fully because if it was, he wouldn't be able to play. But yeah, that's insane. I mean, yeah, concussed Will Howard. That's sad. That's terrible. You know, it affected his play, whatever. But I think having a partially torn ACL is a bigger deal, dude. Like literally, Curtis Rourke should not even have played the season. I think that Ohio State had a struggle fest at that point in the season. You look at the Oregon game, the Nebraska game, the Penn State game. Ohio State was not playing well. Even the Michigan game, not playing that well. But since then, they've looked like the best team in college football. Will it continue? We'll have to see.
I mean, maybe you could be right, Troy.
I mean, Troy's probably right. I'm just saying, though, that Ohio State has had 4 games this year where they have looked bad. 4. And then these last 2 games, and again, I mean, a lot of people know me that I'm not usually favorable towards Ohio State. I'm a little more critical. But I cannot deny what I've seen. The last 2 games, Ohio State has looked like the best team in college football. I mean, if you're basing it off their play right now, they're going to win the whole thing. But we don't know. Because I had a whole bunch of people telling me on the Alabama show with Jackson, oh, well, Jeffrey, you're crazy. Ohio State's not going to win it all. They're going to fall apart. I'm like, I'm not saying they're going to win it all. I'm saying if they play like this and the Tennessee game for 2 more games, they're going to win it all. We don't know if they will because these teams are so volatile. So we'll see.
And then we have My Fighting Irish taking down the Bulldogs 23-10.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Georgia sucked, man. They sucked.
I mean, if you took off the jerseys and switched around the teams, I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell the talent difference at all, right?
The funny thing about this game to
Mm-hmm.
me is the fact, like of course, you know, you gonna have the Georgia fans.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Carson Beck, he was out, and oh,
Mm-hmm.
if he played, he'd have won. Okay, no. Wouldn't have changed the thing. Arguably, I think the game would have been even uglier. I think Carson Beck is one of the most overrated players of all time. He is overrated. He is not that good, and the girl has made it worse. I'm sorry. I mean, I know people get mad when I say it, but it's facts. I mean, ever since the tweet and the hug and the embrace and love, he sucks. I mean, he sucks. He's terrible. And Georgia, the difference between Kirby Smart 2 years ago, because you're having Scotty B saying Kirby Smart's out coach. I think the difference is that Kirby Smart doesn't have as much talent anymore. I think that's the difference. The gap is not like this. The last couple of times when he won a national title, his talent advantage was sick. It was ridiculous. Remember that one year when they had like 17 draft picks or whatever? Oh yeah. Is that happening this? No, it's not happening this year. So to your point, Will, Notre Dame's talent gap with Georgia was basically nil. It may be Georgia a little bit, but it didn't matter because Georgia's quarterback play was bad. That's what I kept trying to say all season long. People's telling me Michigan's no good. Oh, Illinois is better than me. I had this conversation. Illinois is better than Michigan. You really think that? Are you kidding me? Well, Illinois beat. So, do you see the talent that Michigan has? Do you see the talent that Michigan has? Cam Ward, Michigan's playoff team. Cam Ward, Michigan's 11-2. So, no, Michigan was a very good football team because they have tons of talent. They didn't have a quarterback. Georgia didn't really have a quarterback, and they got bailed out of the Kentucky game, really bailed out of the Georgia Tech game, bailed out of the Texas game, sucked against Mississippi State. This is not a good football team. I'm sorry, Kirby Smart. I'm sorry, Georgia fans, but this is not a good football team. Georgia, for their standards, this is a bad football team, just like Alabama was. Georgia should have been 8-5. They're not very good. And I'm very happy your Irish won because it proved what I've been saying all along. And no one's going to ever, say, hey, Jeffrey and other people that said Georgia sucked this year, which there weren't many, but the few that did, you were right. No one's going to say that, but we were. The few people that did. Georgia was no good. No good. They're not very good. This was the worst Kirby Smart team since the beginning of his tenure at Georgia, in my opinion. It was not very good. It was a terrible football team for their standards. Now, compared to 95% of the sport, still a great team, but because of the talent, but not as much talent as they've had. This was the worst team he's had in years. And shows you Kirby's not Mr. Almighty that he can just win every game. It's not the way that it works. He's not a genius like other people think he is. He's human. He's a human coach like everybody else. If he doesn't have as massive an advantage like he normally has, he can lose. And this is what happened. They should have lost to Georgia Tech, and they should have been eliminated from the playoff. Should have never made it. They rigged that game.
Who did you pick before? Did you do a pick or?
I picked Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we picked these.
We did?
Okay. The last show that we did. Because I think we did, right? Well, yeah, I think we did. But I know I picked Notre Dame because Georgia knows no Beck. And, yeah, I picked Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I picked Ohio State, too. I think we did. I swear we picked these. I thought. Mm-hmm. But if we didn't, I know I picked Ohio State because of the fact, I was like, Oregon's not going to beat them again. And Ohio State's hot after the Tennessee game. I think they're going to win. Mm-hmm. I had Penn State winning. The only one I got wrong was I had Texas winning. I swear we picked these. I remember saying this stuff. But only one I got wrong was Texas. I had Texas. No. I got Texas right. They won too. Yeah, I was 4-0. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm tired. Yeah, I went 4-0. Texas won. Mm-hmm. So the reason I said I thought I got it wrong is because Arizona State had the game. I'm going to be wrong on that. But Arizona State lost. So I went 4-0, but I should have been 3-1 because Arizona State should have won. My bad. I'm getting tongue twisted, but I went 4-0. I think you did too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we picked it right.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't picking Georgia. No way. Just no way.
All right, previewing the Ohio State-Texas game. FPI has Texas, well,
Shocking.
basically 50-50.
Yeah, it's 50-50, but shocking, though, because you see the
Yeah.
spread. I remember at one point, Ohio State was favored by like 7, I think, 6.5, 7. It's down to, is that 5? Or is that 6?
5.5 now, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, some people are, I guess, betting
I guess
Texas.
it's because home field for Texas. It did in Texas, but
There's going to be a lot of Buckeyes there, though.
yeah.
But Troy V,
Yeah, we
perfect
did,
time for
maybe,
you
yeah.
picking this game. I do appreciate you for being here. As always, you said you guys played these games last week. It had to be 2 weeks ago. That'd be 2 weeks ago because we didn't do a show last week. But I swear I picked those games.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did. But yeah. So I mean, the problem with this game is that you're judging it off of what we've last seen. Ohio State last 2 games has been remarkably great. Like finally all the pieces coming together. You know, Jeremiah Smith, he's balling out. Will Howard's getting it together. He's healthy now, obviously. Everything's great. Defense is playing great, all that stuff. And then you look at Texas and it's like, well, they got talent, but they just kind of look like crap. So you're just assuming based off that Ohio State's going to win. But you have to, I guess, look at this game with matchups. Like does Texas match up well with Ohio State in your opinion, Will?
I mean, they could maybe get some deep shots going on the passing game. But I don't know. I feel like Ohio State's going to be like, hey, can you run the ball against us? Then we'll just not let you pass it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know. If Ohio State plays like they did against Nebraska, they could lose. But I don't think Texas is good enough to.
No,
I
see,
think
that's the thing. Like,
Oregon
to
has
your
a better
point,
Oregon has a better chance of beating Ohio State. I think Ohio State wins this game fairly comfortably.
Yeah, but to your point though, I feel like if Ohio State play like they did against Nebraska, I would actually pick Texas in that game.
Yeah.
In that same game, because the Ohio State we saw against Nebraska's not very good, right? Like they got a long ways to go to be anything. Made a bowl game, so kudos. But like, they got a lot of work to do still. And Ohio State sucked in that game; they were horrid. So yeah, Texas would win, in my opinion, if you got that Ohio State. The problem is for Texas, you're not getting that Ohio State. I don't think even if Ohio State plays a mid game compared to what they've recently done, Ohio State would still win, in my opinion. Because, I mean, like I said, Texas just doesn't look that good. That's the thing. Godfather of the SEC in the chat saying, hello, everyone.
Thanks
Appreciate you for stopping by, Godfather of the SEC. Sucks we can't be talking about Bama in these playoffs. It's horrible, man. I mean, they didn't deserve to get in. I'm going against Herbie on that. Still wish they were in, but they didn't deserve it. So, it is what it is. But do wish our Crimson Tide had a better year, but is what it is on that. But I'm with you, though. I think Ohio State can't really beat around the bush any further. I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I'll go 31-14 Buckeyes.
I'll say, wow. Jackson's saying 31-20. I was going to, 31 sounds right. I'll go 31-20. 31-21. I'll go with Jackson. That sounds right. I don't think Ohio State will score that much more than that because, like, Texas's D is good, I guess. But even the Arizona State game, I don't know. I mean, Ohio State.
It could get worse, but I gave him 17.
Yeah, Ohio State is a very, very, very talented team that's peaking at the exact time that they should after their loss to Michigan. And I don't know. I just don't think Texas is going to stop that. So give me the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Mm-hmm.
Troy V says, I got 45-13 Buckeyes squeak by, get the win. Hey, I mean, the way they've been playing, I could see that score, but you never know. Like I said, we've seen so many crazy results in 360s out of teams. Ohio State could play bad. We don't know. I just don't really see it, though. I don't see it here against Texas. So I think Ohio State will win. Mm-hmm. But it would shock the world, though, if they come out flat and Texas wins. It could happen, but I think Ohio State wins.
Yeah. And then
This
we
is
have
the game everybody's confused about. This is the
yeah.
50-50 game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you have the floor here, man. Get your Irish talk. Let's see what we
Both
got.
teams are pretty similar in terms of like what they want to do. Like maybe Drew Rattler's a bit of a better thrower than Riley, although I feel like Riley's throwing in the last few games has gotten better. He's still not an elite thrower, but he can put some good balls up. I don't know. I feel like Notre Dame, like they've done the little things to win. Like they've had special teams plays. They've had no turnovers, and I just don't think they'll make mistakes. And I do think that I don't know, the Jeremiah Love injury does scare me a bit. That's the one thing that scares me. And also the more that they have more rest. But I feel like the Irish, they've looked more prepared and better coached than all the teams that they've played so far. And like Boise State and SMU, they made mistakes against SMU. If Notre Dame they play their game and don't make any mistakes. Like Penn State's good, so it'll be a close game, but I do think that the Irish will win. But I'll wait to give my score until Jeffrey talks.
I mean, for me, I mean, I have to give credit where credit's due to Notre Dame and the fact that they've had the tougher path. Yes, Georgia, no Beck, don't think it would have mattered, and Georgia's not as good, but it's still Georgia. You beat the SEC, like that's a massive win. Indiana. Say what you want about Indiana, but Indiana is better than SMU. I will die on that hill for this season. Anyway, Indiana was better than SMU by a pretty decent amount, actually. I mean, really, I actually think that. So, no, there was no discussion between that. So I think Notre Dame's 2 collective wins in the playoffs over Indiana and Georgia are a lot more impressive than Penn State's over SMU and Boise. That is not to say Penn State didn't do well, but I cannot stress enough about that Boise game. If Boise does not turn it over that many times, that game is this. And how much differently would we be looking at Penn State right now if they barely win that game over Boise? Like if it's a 3-point win, which is very well could have been the case if Boise didn't turn it over that much. Now I know that you can give credit to Tom Allen, and I do give credit to Tom Allen and the Penn State defense for turning over Boise that much. But I feel like a lot of those turnovers from Boise were just mistakes. They were just unforced errors. It's just so it wasn't. I can't give Penn State too much credit. Penn State loses games like this all the time, but so does Notre Dame until now. And again, it's very difficult to really assess Georgia when Georgia is worse. It's a very good win for Notre Dame, but I look at Georgia, in my opinion, as an 8-5 team. It's still an SEC team. It's 8-5, but they are an 8-5 team. It is a neck and neck game. Honestly, this is a flip a coin. Troy V said it best. It is a flip a coin game. I agree with the rest. And Love's injury, like Troy was saying,
and Abdul Carter's injury, yeah.
And then you look at the coaches, James Franklin. No one trusts Franklin. Franklin's no good, all that. And then you got Freeman. Like Freeman's hasn't been at Notre Dame as long, so he still hasn't. He hasn't been there long enough to burn the fan base yet completely. You know what I'm saying? Like Franklin's been at Penn State for a long time now, and every year when the big game matters, they lose. They don't win. And Freeman, Notre Dame fans are kind of getting to that point. They were anyway. They were kind of like, yeah, well, Freeman, every year we lose to a bad team and then we can't win the big one. It's the same thing, but Freeman's shaking that this year after the Northern Illinois game. After that game, they've won all the rest of their games and they've looked great. So people probably are going to give the edge to Freeman, but it's not that significant until Freeman can really prove that he's a cut above the Brian Kellys and the Franklins. It's just we're not certain yet. And then you look at the talent; it's not that far apart either. Like you look at Troy V saying Penn State's got 1 or 2 more weapons on offense. Well, other people would say that about Notre Dame. I agree that at certain positions of Penn State's team, they're probably better than Notre Dame. But then you could argue that Notre Dame's better at certain positions than Penn State. It's a very even Steven game. That's why the spread is reflective of that. I don't trust either team still. I still don't even trust Notre Dame fully because, again, I can't stress enough how bad Georgia is this year compared to what they've been. But I was very impressed with how Notre Dame played. Like, they didn't just barely beat him. They beat him down. Score could have been by more, but Notre Dame doesn't win that way. They just don't. That's why Indiana made it close. I'm not going to, flat out say, like, oh, Indiana was competitive. No, Notre Dame beat the crap out of them, and Indiana kind of made it look somewhat all right at the end. But Notre Dame doesn't pull away. So this game's going to be close. For you, man, I'll go Notre Dame 24-21. I'll do it. I'm going to do it. I don't normally pick Notre Dame in these situations, but it's Penn State, man. If it was anybody but Penn State, I would probably pick them. But I'm not picking Penn State. I picked Ole Miss against Penn State last year, and it paid off for me. So give me Notre Dame to beat Penn State and go and face the Ohio State Buckeyes in the championship, and I'll be pulling for you, Will. If that in that game, we'll see.
Yeah, what should my score be? I'll go 20-17 Notre Dame.
Okay, about the same. Godfather of the SEC saying Notre Dame as well. Only one really going Penn State's Troy V. And Troy V, man, he wants another rematch with Penn State to beat him down again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Notre Dame's a common foe too. That game, man, that game where Notre Dame blew it on the last play of the game, that still irritates me. Oh, man. And I still cannot believe when Ohio State fans were calling into Mark Rogers and they were saying that Ohio State manhandled Notre Dame. We blew them out like that. They didn't maybe say it like that, but I still just cracking up, man, these people. And I'm like, dude, you won on the last play of the game. Like, you shouldn't have won. But whatever, it's way fans are sometimes. I mean, like I remember like Troy V and Stephen Cherry, like, you guys were saying, like, man, we survived. Like, we should not have won. But, like, some Ohio State fans were like, oh, we killed them. Like, okay. But I think regardless whether it's Notre Dame or Penn State, I think that it's going to be a interesting game against Ohio State. I think it will be a fun game. But I do think, honestly, that Ohio State will have a better chance to lose to Notre Dame than Penn State. I do think that. Because, I mean, Ohio State just beats Penn State every year. It doesn't mean it's going to be a blowout, but whether it's a blowout or not, they're still going to beat them. Notre Dame, maybe they have a little better shot. Honestly, to be honest, and this sounds sacrilegious what I've said about Texas, but I think Texas has the best chance to beat them, though. I'm not picking a national champion yet. Because, again, we'll see. Maybe Ohio State looks bad against Texas. Or maybe injuries happen. God forbid, don't want injuries. But in the circumstances change, and then Notre Dame kills Penn State or Penn State kills Notre Dame, and maybe our minds change. I'm not picking the championship game. I'm just saying of these three teams, I think Texas does have the best chance to beat Ohio State based off their talent, but I don't think they're going to do it. So it's going to be interesting. Ohio State's definitely shaping up for them to win it all, but there's still a shot they don't win. Still some foes in their way, so we'll see.
All right, well, going from the playoff, we'll take a little look at the portal, see if we have anything to say, and then we'll have to talk about some other topics I have on my mind.
Yeah, portal's been crazy too. Indiana's doing good in the portal. They've had a good portal season, so and Alabama's getting some guys too. So
we have a Guire going from App to UCLA. He wasn't good at App State though. I didn't think he was good.
No, App State was not as good this year. Like, this is like their first year where like the standard they set for themselves, where they were like always, so consistently at the top of their conference. Not this year. They did not have a good season. Yeah, I mean UCLA. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really know their quarterback situation right now. So
I don't know if that guy they have still has eligibility.
Garbers.
Yeah.
They had Garbers. So we'll see. Yeah, maybe Garbers is gone, and then that would make sense. But if not, no.
There's Mendoza.
Fernando Mendoza going to IU. Now, I think this works. I really do. I think this works. I don't think Mendoza is maybe I don't know if his ceiling is as high as some people are saying. Some people are saying, oh, he's going to be way better than Rourke. I don't know. We'll see. Until I see him in an IU uniform and throwing passes, we'll see. But the thing is that does make me confident in Fernando Mendoza. Despite also, like, you're looking at his build. I mean, yeah, he's thinner than Rourke, but like he's tall. He's a pocket passer for the most part. Fits what Cignetti and the offense wants to do. But he also does have the ability to run some more than Rourke did, and especially since we found out Rourke literally couldn't run. So Mendoza has that ability. But when you look at the fact that Cal's offensive line was trash, absolute trash. And yeah, they didn't really play the toughest teams in the world, but I mean, their offensive line was trash. And Fernando Mendoza still completed over 65% of his passes, 16 touchdowns, 6 picks, and actually ran for like over 200 yards with that's including the sack yardage. That's not bad. And you look at Rourke's stats the last season he was at Ohio, and he only threw 11 touchdowns and 5 picks. So if Cignetti and the Indiana offense could untap that out of Rourke again after his good season at Ohio 2 years ago, I think that they can do even maybe more with Mendoza. Maybe. But we'll have to see. I think it's a good pickup.
We'll see.
And they got Mekhi Jackson from App State. He had a good year for App State despite not having the best season in the world. I think he was their leading receiver at around close to 1,000 yards. So I think it's a good pickup to, help replace the slot that they're losing with Keyshawn Williams and Miles Price and Miles Cross. They're losing all three of them. So I think Mekhi Jackson's a good pickup.
Chip Trayanum going to Toledo. Oof. From Ohio State, Kentucky, Toledo, downgraded.
Again, man, you get to that point. Like, I remember this one guy, he was like a former 5-star recruit. He was like at Florida, and he went to Akron. And like when Indiana played Akron in that 4 overtime game, they just kept on, this guy, he was at Florida, and now he's at Akron, former 5-star recruit. Akron's getting 5-star players. I'm like, dude, you do realize he went to Akron because he sucked, right? Like, I'm sorry, but I mean, it's facts. I don't remember his name, but it was funny. But I didn't really have any room when I was watching the game because Indiana was trash that season. But it was funny, though. Scotty B says Daquan Finn's back in the MAC. This time it's Miami, Ohio. It's crazy. So many players. It is so crazy, man.
Will Paulin probably won't be one of the main receivers, but hopefully we'll.
Yeah, I remember him at Wisconsin. Dude,
Yeah.
Wisconsin's just bad though. Like I know he was like their guy, but ugh, man, that was just ugly. Like they didn't have any weapons, and that's why it looks like they're going back to the running offense. Like what happened to trying to modernize it?
You gotta do. They should have just went for the balance. They went from one extreme to the other, man.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. I don't think a run-first offense really works anymore in most instances. I know Army, but those teams are niche, and they don't play tough schedules. I don't think Wisconsin should do that, but probably going to get Fickle fired, so we'll see. Could be wrong. Yeah, Troy V says, how many of these players will never get picked up? Tons. There's actually been reports that hundreds of these guys will never go anywhere. Literally. A lot of them are not these guys here because these guys are 3 stars. Like, it's a lot of just no-star guys, but seriously, though.
Ty Washington might not. He'll probably play a bit as the tight end, but I think Cooper Flanagan will probably be the main tight end, but he could be a nice tight end.
Yeah, role player. I mean, you never can have too many tight ends. Never can have too many of any position, honestly. You want to have good backups. Justice Haynes, man. Yeah, Michigan's like, oh, man, we're taking players from Bama now. Okay. I mean, he wasn't the starter. Like Jam Miller was the starter. Like if Justice Haynes, I mean, again, it's not the same Bama. It's not. Without Saban, it's not the same Bama. It just isn't. But I mean, if Justice Haynes was that good, then he should have been the starting back. He wasn't for some reason. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think like it's big of an addition as some people make it out to be, but it is still a good addition for Michigan. It just again, Michigan's throwing out money. They're throwing out tons of money, and that's why they're getting players. Is Sharon Moore is Sharon Moore now the best coach in college football now? Like no, it's definitely money. That Lewis Moore guy for IU there. Funny enough, he actually played for Indiana a year ago.
Oh, he came back. He's coming home. He's coming home.
After Tom Allen got fired. He went to Ole Miss, and now he's going back to Indiana. So that's a good redemption story there. He's like, well, Indiana's better now, so I'm coming back. It's funny, but he's actually a decent player, so we need a safety.
Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
I think it's crazy. You don't see that too often with guys.
Oh, I gotta go all the way back down now. No, that sucks.
No, come on, 247.
I did not mean to click on that guy.
Yeah, you're good, man. That is so fun. I've done that before. Like I've scrolled through it and then accidentally hit one, and then I gotta like go all the way back down. It's like, dang, man. What day are you at?
I was on like around Christmas, so.
Oh my gosh, man, that's crazy. Yeah, we'll know we're back to Lewis Moore. Troy V says, I thought I was the only person that did that. No, you're not, Troy. Trust me, you're not. I do it all the time, and it's so frustrating. It is so bad. It's like you got to go all the way back down, man. They got to make it easier. Yeah, you're almost back. You're at like December 29th. December 28th.
MJ Morris, yeah, he didn't end up starting.
December 27th. Top 5 as he sees how many are in the portal now. Well, at its peak, wasn't there like 3,000, 2,000 or 3,000, something like that? It was an insane amount. But now it's going to be a lot less. Yeah, Lewis Moore. There we go. But now it's a lot less because a lot of them have already committed, but there's still probably hundreds.
Oh, but interesting. Do you think that Justice will end up starting for Michigan, or do you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, I don't really know the running back room, but Mullings is gone, right? He's leaving.
I think he's gone, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say yes, I would. I mean, I would assume with him going there, Haynes is probably wanting to start because he wasn't starting at Bama, so I would assume that. But we'll see. Long snapper. Yeah, Indiana needed a long snapper. Never, those guys are never rated, but hey, like he could be probably good. I'm sure Signetti, not going to get a bad
stays back in the portal. Should have just stayed at Notre Dame, but
yeah. I hate when I see when guys transfer again. Like they transfer the first time and they get the choice wrong. It's like you already have messed up twice. You committed to a school, you're not playing. You go to another school, you're not playing. Now you're going to another school, you're not playing. Like dude. Like how many bad decisions can you make? JoJo Earl, go back down. I saw JoJo Earl. UNLV. It didn't work out at TCU.
Wait, he was IU and then went to TCU?
Bama. He was at Bama.
Oh, okay.
You don't remember JoJo Earl? He was a 5-star receiver out of high school. He went to Alabama. He didn't do anything. And he went to TCU and then didn't do anything really. So now he's going to UNLV. Yeah, Ohio State. We just got a username of Ohio State. One transfer allowed should be the rule.
Well, I think one transfer in the Power 4 should be allowed, I think.
I mean,
because I think he should be allowed to transfer up and down, but
well, yeah, sure. I mean, sure, but it's so frustrating. I mean, it's too open, man. I mean, it creates chaos, but it's also annoying. Braden Lott going from Wisconsin to Arizona. Oh my gosh, man! Arizona is falling, dude. Yeah, I mean, you saw. I'm not hating, but did you see the Arizona coach, though, Brennan?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know how to say this, but I know people saw this. But McMillan and Fafita, like they
Mm-hmm.
stayed, right? Like they were the only two that stayed at Arizona. Like basically the whole team left for Washington, and
Mm-hmm.
those are the only two guys that stayed. And I think it's great, but the Brennan guy did everything he could like to
Mm-hmm.
keep him there. I don't know if you saw or not, but
Mm-hmm.
like all season long, like he had like this like the luau thing on or whatever, right? He was trying to like appeal and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. But it ain't working, dude. Like you kept Fafita and McMillan, but like whatever, like you did all that. That's good, but the problem is you didn't keep the rest of the team, and your team's trash. And now you're bringing in a quarterback that's not even good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Arizona's dead. They're dead. Brennan's gonna get fired. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it at that. But I just thought it was funny because I feel like Fafita and McMillan go to Washington if Brennan doesn't do what he basically he did everything he could to keep him,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work. It would have been better off for them to go to Washington because I mean Will Rogers sucked this
Mm-hmm.
season. Like Will Rogers was great with Leach because it was just dump passing and
He
stuff.
was
But Will
better than
Rogers,
he was with the old coach, but not quite as good as what he was with.
yeah, I feel like Fafita probably would have done better at Washington still with
Yeah.
Fish. Honestly, I do. But then Will Rogers did. But it is what it is. Brennan kept him. He tried to make it home for them and all that, but it didn't work, dude. It just didn't work.
Mm-hmm. A lot of WVU tech is interesting.
Troy Visa's per 247. There's currently 3,000 players in the portal. This was in March of last year. You can only imagine it'll be around the same as your my figures are wrong. I said a lot less. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Squirrel White going to Florida State, trying to revive FSU.
What? That don't even make any that transfer does not make sense. He started at Tennessee.
Yeah.
He started. I mean, Florida State's probably shilling out tons of money, man. Oh yeah, Indiana tight end going to Miami, Ohio.
He didn't play.
He was a like fourth string.
Yeah.
Him, Jay Morris. Yeah. There's Lewis Moore again. It's showing it again. I love when it shows it twice.
Yeah.
Portal's just out of control. I mean, it's too ridiculous. It's not even organized. I mean, this stuff. I honestly do not know how these coaches do it. I mean, you're contacting all these people, trying to focus on bowl games and games, and you're doing all this. I mean, you're having to talk to players like, are you staying? Are you leaving? You want more money and whatever. It's just too much. It's too much.
Walter White, not the guy from the show Breaking Bad, but the Auburn quarterback going to Baylor. Scotty, is he going to start? You think, Scotty?
Yeah,
If you're
I
still
was like,
here?
hopefully Scotty's still here. I would
Yeah.
definitely like his opinion on that one. I mean, probably you would think.
A lot of Rutgers guys.
Yeah, it's not good for Shiano unless they're backups. But a couple of them said 4-star. One of them did or whatever. Jonte Cook the second going to Washington from Texas. Yeah, backup edge guy going to Western Kentucky, and that was a backup corner. They didn't really play. They were rotational guys.
Concepcion going to A&M.
Makes sense. Makes sense. NC State's just not good, really. Dave Doran's another guy you could see leaving soon. Just mid. I mean, like Dave Clawson finally hung it up. Wake Forest is done.
Yeah, they're done.
Oh my gosh, they're done. Their history, man. I mean, they're already in a crappy conference, and it's like, wow. I mean, your coach that made you relevant, he's done. He's hanging it up. Yeah, they got no money. Have you seen their games? Like, have you seen Wake Forest football games? They're dead. There's like nobody there.
Yeah.
They're almost like Stanford now. And that's not what you want to be compared to, ever. I mean, maybe I'm stretching a little bit too far, but trust me, Wake's not doing good. That's all I'm saying. Their basketball team's been better-ish, but they just not competing in football in any way. Which is sad. Louisville getting a guy from Tennessee. I'm sure. I don't think Austin's been here tonight, but I'm sure he'd be happy about that. Yeah, Rylan Gandy going from Pitt to Indiana. That was announced recently. He was a starter at Pitt, so I think this is a good pickup, actually.
There you go.
Because he had a good day when they played Cal. Mendoza just didn't throw it his way. They were showing highlights of that game, so I think he's a pretty solid pick. And he had SEC teams offering him too. I don't know how serious they were about wanting him, but I think that's a good sign. Baylor got a guy from Oregon. Purdue, man. Purdue's going to be at the top of the transfer rankings. Yeah. And, all their dudes are 3 stars, man. They don't even they don't have none of the high guys, but they're just going to have, because of quantity. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have so many portal guys that they're going to be at the top of the portal rankings.
Miami to Georgia.
I love moves like that. Don't you? When you see guys like Miami to Georgia and A&M's and all, you gotta love it. Oh, yeah, Michigan getting a guy from Clemson. That hurts.
That hurt.
Clemson. And Noah Thomas, that was announced today. Texas A&M to Georgia. That receiver. Wasn't he the leading receiver for A&M this past year? I think he was. So, Georgia's excited about that. Yeah, Jordan Shaw right there, corner at Washington. Wasn't he at Arizona? I think I remember Arizona.
Let's see.
Of Fafita and all that.
Yeah, he was.
See, that's what I'm saying. Stuff like that. That's what's hurt. That's what hurt Arizona. They didn't keep none of those guys. Shaw is solid. He was very solid. See, Arizona's defense was better the year prior. They lost all those dudes. Everybody was like, "Oh, well, they got McMillan and Fafita back." That's all they kept. You can't win with just 2 good players, man. You cannot win.
Bama to Tennessee.
Unfortunate. Yeah, Khalil Benson. You remember how I mentioned Lewis Moore went from Indiana to Ole Miss, back to Indiana? So's Khalil Benson. He was at IU, went to Colorado, and now he's back at IU. And I remember when I tweeted, I tweeted last year, said, "Bad decision, Khalil. Terrible decision." He listened to me. I influenced it. No, it probably didn't. But seriously, I was like, you should have stayed at IU. And he did. He came back to IU. Good job. Just funny on that. I remember tweeting that, though. I was like, bad decision, man. Shocking, though. 2 guys went back to IU. That's the Signetti effect, man. 2 guys.
Taven Jackson to UCF.
What are you thinking about that? You think it's a good move for him? I do.
Who's coaching UCF again? I forgot.
Don't remember. Gus Malzahn. I don't even remember. Who did they get? No, it is Scott Frost. I forgot. I didn't even have to look it up. Scott Frost. Isn't it him? It's Scott Frost, isn't it? He went back there. I think I remember that, right?
Yeah, you're right.
He did, yeah.
With Alex Grinch as coordinator.
Boo. Boo. Okay, bad. No. Sorry, Taven. We'll see. I remember now. For some reason, it just triggered me. I remember Scott Frost went back there.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to
slip my mind.
He's going to have to score a lot of points.
Wasn't a Ja Hall? He played for big team. Was it Bama or Texas?
Oh no.
Or was it both? Was he at Bama then went to Texas?
Yes.
I remember. I remember the John Hall. I swear. I was like, he was
How
in
do you
Bama.
know this?
The reason I remember is because he's the one that complained to the Bama fans. He was like, "You fans are terrible, Bama fans. That's why I'm going to Texas." And then in Texas didn't treat him any better. Went to UCF. Now he's going to Sacramento State.
Sac State.
John Hall, man, you got to be careful what you say. I remembered him and JoJo Earl, dude. I remember. See, I got my eye on the Bama guys. I remember him. I bet even Jackson might, but I don't know if Jackson remembers John Hall. I remember him.
Oh my God.
Sac State. He went from Bama to Texas. That's worse than freaking JT Daniels.
Yeah, that was more. Yeah.
Sac State. Oh my gosh, man. Oh boy. That is crazy. I don't know. I'm so glad you paused it, Taven Jackson, because I looked below and I was like, a John Hall. I was like, I know him.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
AJ Swan going to App State.
Oh yeah, I remember we were talking like he had no shot to start at LSU, man. No shot. Mm-hmm. Well, he'll probably start at App State.
Mm-hmm.
You never know, though. I mean, that Malachi Nelson guy didn't start at Boise, so I mean, anything's possible.
Jeremiah Alexander going to Clemson.
Man, I gotta tell my Bama folks about that, man. Yeah. I gotta tell them about it, John Hall. They're gonna be like, "Who?" Like, "Oh yeah, that guy."
Oh man, boy. King Mack. Do you remember him?
I don't even know if he played, honestly. I know he's definitely a barely rotation guy at best. I don't think so.
Emmanuel Pregadon, USC's best O-lineman to the portal. That's not good.
USC's a dumpster fire, man. They're such a dumpster fire. Oh, my gosh. Not good. Oh, yeah, Ohio State. Ohio State getting an O-lineman from or Indiana getting an O-lineman from Ohio State. So funny, too, because I've seen so many Ohio State fans like, he's no good. It's not a big loss. And I'm just like, dude, Indiana never gets players from Ohio State. What a world. What a world, okay? I'll take them. Oh, man.
What do you think of Ball State to Bama? That's a jump.
Yeah, that's a big jump. I mean, on the one hand, you'd be like, well, you know, is Bama that desperate? But at the same time, it's like there have been guys from really small schools at O-line. Like there was that offensive line from Tulsa a couple years ago, Central Michigan. They're going to be good O-linemen from small leagues, small teams. So I'm sure I'd have to dig into him. I'd have not really dig much, but I'm sure he's probably was an all-MAC player. So at very best, he's rotation.
Grant Wilson going to IU from Old Dominion to compete.
The reason why that transfer edition happened is because of the fact that unfortunate news came out that Tyler Cherry got hurt in practice. Hurt his knee pretty bad. So there's reports that he might not even be available for this fall next year. So that sucks because I wanted to see if he had a shot, you know. But so we'll see. We'll see what he if Tyler Cherry can come back. But Grant Wilson, they said he had pretty good stats at Old Dominion.
He went to my high school. I saw him at the gym.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, you know, hopefully he does well then for IU, even if it's just backup. He's definitely content to be a backup, though. No one's expecting him to start, but at least to push Mendoza. And if, God forbid, anything happens to Mendoza, he'll, have to be an emergency guy to come in. But yeah, that's really cool that he went to your high school. That's awesome. It's crazy. Trey Williams, Michigan. See, Michigan's just loading up, dude. Just loading up. God, Washington State.
South Dakota State to Washington State.
Oh, yeah. The coach went there, right? Rogers, right? Yeah. Yeah. So where did Dickert go again? I'm forgetting. I can't remember. That slipped my mind.
Wake Forest.
Wake. I should have remembered that. That's a bad move. honestly, it's a bad move, right? I mean, Wash State. I mean, at least Washington State. I mean, yeah, he's getting paid more at Wake.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know, dude. Washington State's easier to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to win games. Wake probably isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, whatever works. Yeah, Dickert went there. Yeah, because the Rogers guy, South Dakota State, went to Washington State. Everybody was praising that because they're like, "Oh, Jimmy Rogers is so good." We'll see. I mean, I'm sure he will do fine. Washington State's not going to play anybody.
Bama to BC, Ohio State to Pitt.
Yeah. Bench guys.
Florida to Pitt. Wake to that's a sideways move. Wake to Purdue.
Yeah, like Purdue's a step up because of the Big Ten. Odom's got work. That's all I'm saying. Odom has got work to do. He can do it. I mean, I think he's all right. I mean, he did good at UNLV.
Miami. Oh, Tyler Morris going to IU.
Oh, yeah. That's a big addition right there because he carved up Bama in the title game a year ago. I'll never forget that one play that he had that touchdown, man, where he dove for it. My goodness. So, yeah, Morris is quick. I mean, I'm sure Michigan fans are going to be like, yeah, we don't need him, you know, whatever. But I think he's a good addition. Again, Indiana did Indiana used to get guys like this? I mean, this is a step up, man. They might not be reeling in the 5 stars, but to get, I mean, good players here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting quality guys from the Michigans and the Ohio States. Come on. Yeah,
Finn, there's Finn.
Yeah, Daquan Finn going to Miami, Ohio. Such a drop, man, back where he came from with the MAC. Troy V said the Ohio State O-lineman didn't play much, but he said that, you know, hopefully he does well. Appreciate that, Troy. But, yeah, Daquan Finn, I mean, were we high on him when he went to Baylor? I mean,
yeah, and then he got hurt, right? He got hurt.
Because I thought I remember saying I thought he would do well, but it just didn't happen.
Tennessee to Florida State. Florida State's getting some guys.
They have a lot of work to do, man.
Florida State to Maryland. Robbie Ashford. Oh, man, he's made a journey.
Dude, Wake's going to suck. If he's the starting quarterback, dude, they're going to suck. That dude's not good.
Where did he start again?
He was at Auburn, right?
Yeah.
I know he was at Auburn. He was somewhere else, too, though, right? Didn't he go transfer?
Oregon to Auburn to South Carolina to Wake.
I was right. I couldn't remember where, but I knew like he transferred to Auburn because I remember when they were like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I couldn't remember where though, but yeah, Oregon to Auburn to South Carolina to Wake, man. I mean, it's not as bad as a Ja Hall or JT Daniels. I mean, he's still in the power, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, Wake. I'm telling you, man, Wake's just not the team. I will be shocked if Dickert was working with not a lot at Washington State, but still, I mean, Washington State didn't have the competition. I mean, the ACC's not that deep either, man, but Wake's just at the bottom. It's just going to be tough to do things there unless they actually commit to the funds because, I mean, it's all about funds. Why is Indiana doing better? They're getting money. They're actually committing to football. They're having a good NIL fund. It's just the way that it works. Cal getting a dude from Oregon backup. Purdue. USC.
Yeah, Purdue to USC. Yeah, that's the Branch brothers. The Branch brothers going to Georgia.
Yeah, you said that, right? You said that they were probably going to go to Georgia. I remember you saying that when we did the last show. Good for them. I got nothing else to say. Nothing.
All right. We'll see if they can revive their careers with Georgia.
Gavin Wimsatt.
Wimsatt going to Jacksonville State.
Wasn't he at Rutgers? He was at Rutgers.
Yeah.
Like, why did he go to Kentucky, of all places? Why would you even?
I guess he thought he was going to start, but
he wasn't even that good at Rutgers.
Mm-mm.
Like, he wasn't, man. Yeah, that's. Can't even go to Jacksonville State with Rich Rod. You know, you're late, man. UNC getting an offensive lineman. That dude's duplicated. That safety, he spawned there twice for
Duquesne to
UAB.
Ohio State is a jump, man.
Wow. I mean, you'd be shot like if he's a starter, right? You would think he'd be, backup, like rotation, but you never know. I mean, usually
Travis Shaw.
Yeah, Carolina D lineman. Yeah, it's not surprising. Noah Kim to the portal again, man. He was at Michigan State, right? Yeah.
Coastal to Michigan
Eastern
State
Michigan.
to Coastal to Eastern Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, did you see Grayson McCall is going to be on the Coastal staff?
Well, at least he's got a job.
Yeah, he got a job. He said he was retiring from football,
Yeah.
so yeah. That hit he took, man, that was brutal. I don't know why he ran that, man. He ran, dude, and he got obliterated. I do not know why he ran. That was not good.
Yeah, Noah Cam went to a rival high school. I remember him.
It's wild, man, that you have those, like,
Yeah.
I guess you would say connections. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Malachi Nelson going to UTEP, Boise to UTEP, USC.
Dude, look at his ranking, dude. He's in the floor.
Yeah, USC to Boise to UTEP.
It's just such a fall. Like, I hate seeing this. Like, I mean, if he doesn't start there, dude, then something's wrong.
Yeah. He was the number one recruit on some websites.
Yeah. And now nobody even remembers he exists, except us.
WVU to Arizona, Oklahoma State to Oklahoma.
It's just mid moves. Chandler Rogers in the portal again.
Back in the portal.
I remember the last year of Tom Allen, they were looking at him. Again, we Indiana's in such a better place right now, man. It's unbelievable. We were looking at unranked quarterbacks under Tom Allen, dude. Like it's so much better, man.
Sam Heward going to be a backup at USC.
Sure. Whatever works, right? I mean, a backup at USC is not a bad job. I mean, look at Jack Tuttle. He's at Michigan as a backup, won a national title. So, I mean, USC's not going to do that. But, I mean, you're making money. You're making NIL to be on the bench.
Benson Snead didn't play, I'm assuming.
He was a backup player, rotation. He'll start at Western Kentucky, I'm sure.
Florida State.
Benson.
Oh, Tennessee to Purdue.
It's a drop, man, but yeah, he's looking for automatic playing time.
Bama to Tennessee.
I just feel like when you're looking for the automatic playing time, though, you're not pushing yourself to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like
if it's your last year eligibility, I get it. Like you just
sure. But when you're like a freshman and you just bolt, it's like you're not helping yourself, in my opinion, because you're just leaving. You're going away from the adversity. And instead of trying to get better with the guys around you at the school you're at, you just go to a school where you're like, well, I'm going to start. Then you go to that school, and it's like sometimes you find out you're just no good, man. Like you didn't put in the work. And then like Malachi Nelson, like you go to Boise, like, oh, I'm going to start at Boise. I'll start at Boise. Did he? No. And now he's at UTEP. It's just you fall, man, because you're not fighting for the job. You're not fighting day in and day out to get better. You're just like, I want to start. So then you just suck. I just feel like it's just the wrong approach. I agree with you. Last year, that's fine, but some of these dudes just bolt, and they're not even trying to get better, and it's just sad because they never will. Some of them never will, and they had talent, and they never would have been ranked high to begin with. But it just the talent fades; it goes away. UNC,
There
UConn,
you
or
go.
USC.
One more refresh.
Yeah, I know the portal's about done because I know it's like they're going to be like the winter portal session end, and then it's going to be the spring. So a lot of these guys that haven't committed, you got to make a move.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then I guess you're just not going to have a football team next year.
So here's Ari and Andy's 2025 top 10.
Okay.
Look at this, Jeffrey.
Okay, that's a load of trash. Get Auburn off. Get Auburn off the freaking screen. What? Whoa. Okay, I mean the rest of it, honestly, I mean, is it that outrageous? I don't think so. Even Florida, Florida has a case, like Flagway, and they're getting players also maybe. I mean, but Auburn, dude, get Auburn off the screen. Do you agree with Texas at 1 though, man?
I mean, they're putting a lot of stock into Arch.
Yeah, I know. That's true. But I don't know, man. I mean, it's just so hard to rank these teams so far away. I mean, like South Carolina at 7. Like really? Like maybe? I mean, it depends on how many players they actually don't lose. I mean, like if they don't get poached and stuff, you know, like didn't South Carolina lose a couple guys, I thought? I mean, I don't know. But I mean, look at the SEC. It's all SEC Big Ten, man. The whole thing outside of Clemson.
Clemson, Notre Dame, yeah.
And I mean Notre Dame. I mean they're the outlier with everything, but they should be in the Big Ten, but differences. But I'll look at Notre Dame as a Big Ten team. Honestly,
yeah. I mean they got all the semifinal money, all the $14 million for themselves. So
they are, in my opinion, a Big Ten team. I mean they are a Big Ten team. They're just not a Big Ten team. I've always looked at it as that because I mean they compete in the Big Ten with a lot of
sports. Hockey, but ACC for other sports.
Is it just hockey? I thought there was
just
a couple
hockey.
I thought lacrosse was too.
No, lacrosse is ACC.
Okay. Well, to me, I still just feel like I mean, Notre Dame. I remember a couple of years ago they were saying Notre Dame the ACC. Dude, that'd be the dumbest decision in the world. I mean, that's just dumb. Like if Notre Dame went to the ACC, it would automatically hurt their program. I mean, it makes more sense for Notre Dame to be independent than be in the ACC. The only move that makes sense is to the Big Ten. Does not make sense for Notre Dame to go to the SEC. Big Ten.
What do you think that? Do you think Bama should be on instead of Auburn?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm not even that outraged Bama's not on the list because, I mean, they haven't, the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
We don't know about the quarterback situation. I mean, you got young talent, but we just don't know. We got Samuel Wilkinson Jr. in the chat. Appreciate you for stopping by. Yeah, but we don't know. I mean, Bama, there's a lot of question marks, honestly. So I'm not outraged that they're not on here. I'm not gonna go crazy about it. I mean, it's not unrealistic, but should they be on here over Auburn? Absolutely. That's just dumb. But whatever. I'm sure there had to be some other team you could have put there if you're not going to put Bama on there instead of Auburn. Indiana would have irritated me less. Okay, and I saw Indiana ranked 24th in one ranking. They're ranked 24th in somebody's top 25. I'm like, okay, 24th. Indiana's now 24th now. How did they go? How did they go all the way from the top 10 to 24?
Well, they're looking at the schedule, man. They're looking at the schedule.
Also, Auburn's schedule's good. I mean, I haven't really looked at their schedule. Is Auburn's schedule good? I mean,
well, they're playing Bama and Georgia every year.
Okay, 2 losses. That doesn't put them at 10. Especially if they get murdered. I don't know. Get Auburn off there, man. They haven't done anything.
So, Jeffrey, what do you think the reason is that the Big Ten's closed the gap this year?
Money. I really do, man. I think money. Big Ten media rights deal. The donors, man. I mean, have you seen the donors of these? Look at Michigan. Michigan's donors. I mean, we got the 4th richest dude in the world giving us money. Well, I mean, that kind of helps, I really do. I think money.
Do you think that the SEC schools, like most of them, like Bama, was handing out money before the NIL under the table? Like Bama, Auburn, they were all handing out money under the table. Do you think that's part of it? Like the Big Ten wasn't and the SEC was. That's what like Chris Vernon was saying. Like he's like, yeah, I know these donors, like these SEC people, like from Tennessee and other schools, they were all handing out money to players, and like people just didn't know about it. But Ole Miss was handing out the most, so that's why Hugh Freeze got caught.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't really think that's that far fetched. I mean, I love Alabama and I always will. I mean, it's the way it works. I grew up watching them since I was 3 or 4 years old. But I mean, I'm not going to go out here and say Alabama has been a clean program. I'm not going to say that. I just not. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of validity to Hugh Freeze and Ole Miss. Yeah, the one that did it the most, and at a program that's not as big of a deal as a Bama or an LSU. It's like, oh, let's throw down Ole Miss. No one cares, I agree. I mean, look at Indiana. Look at Indiana. You destroyed IU basketball because they're not Duke. They're not Kansas. You know what I'm saying? Like Indiana's not that. So it's like, oh well, Kelvin Sampson's phone calls and stuff just butcher their program, and that's what they did. And Indiana's been trash.
Well, the Big Ten probably ratted them out because Indiana was the king of the Big. I mean, them and Michigan State.
Yeah, well, they're not anymore. I mean, now they're just they're ninth in the league. That's great. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, got what you wanted. Has the Big Ten been relevant in basketball since then? Not really.
No.
I mean, has Tom Izzo done jack lately?
He
Not
won
really.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, in 2000. I mean, when Kelvin Sampson got ratted out, it was 2008. I mean, I'm just saying since then, the Big
Michigan
Ten
got ratted out, and it took them a while to get it together, too.
So, I mean, just not smart, Big Ten. I mean, I mean, Indiana was your program. You don't really have one. And you go, well, we got UCLA now. Does anybody really care anymore about UCLA?
Well, they were making Final Fours with like Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook, but they fell off.
I mean, I know, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, have you seen their statistical attendance? It's not that good. Like the fans just don't show up that much, man. I mean, back in the 60s, I mean, like they were the thing, Wooden. And it's just like, I mean, yeah, they are better than Indiana today, but I don't really think people care about UCLA like Kansas cares. Like the Kansas.
Well, the thing about UCLA is they got passed by the Lakers. Like the Lakers kind of took over once Wooden left.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to do.
That's why attendance wasn't that.
That's why Miami basketball is trash. Like, oh, you had that life wallet guy trying to buy Miami wins, and it's like, guess what happened? You had a couple decent years, made one Final Four, knocked Jackson Davis out of existence, and then guess what? You suck now, and Larinaga gone, and you're trash, and no one cares, and you have no fans, because that's what Miami is, a program that nobody cares. Congratulations for one Final Four. Good job. You bought one Final Four, and now you're nothing. So, yeah, it just feels to me like the way UCLA is, but way better than Miami. But I'm just saying, like, the Big Ten doesn't have a relevant program, so it's very dumb for them to rat Indiana out. But, I mean, the Ole Miss thing, I mean, the SEC had so many great programs, but I think the major problem, to your point about the SEC paying teams paying players under the table, is the fact that when they were doing it under the table, they didn't have to pay as much because they were the only ones doing it, right? Now that it's legal across the board, I mean, you've got and these are reported figures, but you got Michigan doling out $10 million, man, supposedly. Two players. Did you see the reported Duke quarterback? What's going on there? Duke football quarterback, $8 million or something like that. Okay, what's going on there? It's Duke. We're talking about Duke here, not basketball. We're talking about football. And supposedly that transfer quarterback they added is getting that much. Now, again, I don't know if those statistics are accurate, but I'm just saying now that all of this is across the board, the SEC does not have the advantage that they had. They don't. Alabama does not have an advantage. Georgia does not have an advantage over the Big Ten. The Big Ten has more money. They do. Across the entire conference, the Big Ten has more money than the SEC. And I understand Daryl's point about how the SEC teams care, but why did the SEC teams care and the fans care? Because they were the best. They cared because their conference was the best. Yeah, there were moments for the Pac-10 and other conferences were a little bit better, but for the most part, it's been the SEC. Not right now. And I agree with Troy V to an extent here that about new coach at Bama does help. But what if Georgia was still good? What if Texas was really taking the reins? Would it really matter all that much? It's because they haven't. Texas hasn't. If they get blown out by Ohio State in 2 days, then they're meh. Georgia's meh. I mean, what they got? The LSU sucks. Brian freaking Burger King Kelly. I mean, that's really great. I mean, it's just mid. You know what I'm saying? A&M buys everything, and they win nothing. So that's the SEC. The SEC cared because they were the best, and they had the advantage. And I'm not saying they're going to stop caring. Indiana basketball hasn't been good 25 years, and their fans still care. But it gets to a point, though, when you got to admit that the Big Ten's right there. I still, as of right now, today, January 8, 2025, would say that the SEC is the best conference as of right now. But that gap is so close. And I don't know if it's going to change. If the rules change, I think the SEC regains the stranglehold. That's why you see the SEC people complaining about it. The Big Ten people aren't because they like this. Ooh, they love it. I don't love it because I think this sucks for football. I hate the way college football has become. I hate it. I can't stand it. I love talking about it with you and other people because it's fun, and I've loved college football since I was a kid. But this stuff's slimy. It's grimy. It's nasty. All this is wrong. I mean, this stuff should be on crime shows how bad it is. It's terrible. The Rashada situation. I mean, we've seen such dirty situations. The Sluka situation. What happened to that guy? It's trash. What's going on in college football is utter scum. It's utter trash. The Pac-10 should have never gone away. It is bad. But you want to know what? All that trash, it's benefiting the Big Ten. It's benefiting the Big Ten. That's why Indiana's good. I mean, how can I be mad when Indiana's good? But it's also coming at the expense of Alabama not being as good. I know Saban's gone, but that's why Saban's gone. That's why he's gone. And that's why he's not coming back. You think he would have quit if the rules didn't change? No, he had a contract till 2030. No, he quit because of the fact he got sick of this crap because he didn't have an advantage anymore. And Kirby's going to get sick of it. He's just going to bolt to the NFL if he don't like it. I mean, it's just not the same sport, man. It's not the same sport. The SEC does not have the advantage. You maybe have the oil money in Texas, but what does Ole Miss got? I mean, they got some donors. I mean, Mississippi State. I mean, what do some of these teams have? I don't know what they got. They got donors. They got people that pay, but they don't have what the Big Ten's got.
They're recruiting better, but they are like how long are those players going to stay before they want out? And then a lot of those players like go to the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, like Troy V said, he's right. The SEC is still better than other leagues in recruiting. I mean, the thing that helps the SEC and it helps a lot is the fact that the vast majority of the best players are in the South. And that's why they've gotten all these players. But see, you're seeing more and more players not staying in the South. I mean, you already saw the Florida shift. I've talked about this for 20 years. The Florida shift where Miami, Florida State, and Florida had such a stranglehold on their own state that those three programs were the best. I mean, if you're going off state recruiting rankings, those three programs should be number 1, number 2, and number 3 every freaking year. Or at least top 5 with the Texas schools or whatever. But they're not. Why? Because they do not keep all their in-state players. They just don't. I mean, there's no reason on planet Earth why Florida State should have been 2-10 last year. I mean, that is insane. I mean, with the amount of talent Florida has, I mean, oh my gosh, that is just sad. But they don't keep all their players. Now, I mean, Florida's doing a better job. Miami's trying. But they had a stranglehold in the 80s, 90s, 2000. They don't have it anymore. Players are not staying in state. More players travel more than ever before. If you go back in time, like you look at like when Bob Knight was coaching basketball and Bear Bryant was coaching football back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that time period, a lot more guys stayed in state. A lot more guys did not go out of state. They didn't do that. You had some, but you didn't have it on this level. But I mean, you got guys from Washington that are playing for Florida State, and you got guys from Florida playing for Oregon. It doesn't matter where you're from. Bryce Young's from California. I mean, tons of Bama guys aren't from Bama. They're all from Florida and Texas and California. I mean,
back then they were in Bama, right?
So I mean, I just look at the fact that if the Big Ten has more money, then they're going to get the players eventually. If the rules change, though, then the SEC is going to be fine. But what do you think? I mean, do you think the rules are going to change? How long is this system going to be like this where it's free reign, in your opinion?
I don't know when Congress. It's going to be Congress that has to do something. That's the thing. It has to be the government, and I don't know how long it'll take.
I mean, it's clearly broken. I mean,
the thing is, though, the Big Ten spans more states than the SEC.
Well, it's a national, it's a countrywide conference. I mean, it literally goes from coast to coast. I know the ACC goes from coast to coast, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten is like the true.
Well, I don't know if anything will change because the Big Ten has so much representation in Congress, like based on their states compared to the SEC.
I mean, like SEC people hate Ward Manuel because like, oh, he's Michigan AD. It's rigged for the Big Ten. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's why Indiana barely made the playoffs. I mean, it'd have been rigged if he had put Michigan in the playoffs. Then okay. But I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with that. I mean, the problem is, I mean, when you look at some of these universities, man, they have so many rich people. Mm-hmm. They just do. I mean, if you're going off that, like Stanford should be just great. The problem is with Stanford is no one cares. Mm-hmm. You have to care. Indiana never cared about football. Ever. Like, never. When I was a kid, and like I started watching Indiana basketball when I was like 10, Indiana football, like, they didn't care. I started watching, like, if they wanted to be good, they could. Mm-hmm. They just didn't care. What's going on now? You got a coach. You paid him money. You're getting players. You're starting to win. You got fans. And guess what? All I hear about on social media now is IU football. There's people on social media saying, screw IU basketball. I still love it, but Woody sucks. And until they get a new coach, football all the way, Signetti. Okay. Did you see that 5 years ago? I didn't even see it with Penix. I didn't even see it with freaking Penix. I didn't see it. Indiana football, they care now. And that's the thing, man. Like that, I just don't think this is happening with the old rules. I don't see it. Mm-hmm. They brought money into the program. The fans care. They won. They got a taste of winning, and now, like they're locked and loaded. And Indiana football is a threat. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to make the playoffs again, but because, like you said, the schedule. But I'm just saying, like they're a much better program than they were. You never saw this before. The Big Ten, just every university has so many rich people, man. Mm-hmm. There's so many bucks that are going through the conference. But the thing is, you have to care too. Mm-hmm. Like you don't really see rapid, progress at some schools still, like Northwestern. You have to.
They're building a new stadium at least.
They are, but you have to care. Mm-hmm. And Stanford will never be good unless they care. Mm-hmm. So you have to care. Wake Forest they're not going to be good unless there's actual commitment, like from the donors, because there's rich people at some of these places. They just don't care.
Yeah, like Syracuse, they got the money and they did better this year. We'll see how it.
Yeah, like they maybe are committed here. I mean, maybe. I mean that's mainly what it's about. I mean, like just say, I mean, you're in school and you got a test coming up. If you don't care, then you're gonna fail. Mm-hmm. If you do care and you study and you work hard, you're gonna pass, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just the way that it works. If you don't care about your freaking football program, then you're gonna lose. I mean, would Ohio State be a great program if they didn't care? If there was never any level of giving a crap back 80 years ago, 90, 100 years ago when they first started, becoming the Ohio State, right? Before even Woody Hayes and beating up people and stuff. Before all that, like
before Paul Brown, yeah.
If there was no care, Newt Rockne, if there was no Newt Rockne, you don't have Lou Holtz. If you don't have Branch McCracken, you don't have Bob Knight. You have to have a foundation. Somebody built it. If Newt Rockne goes to IU back in 1920 instead of Notre Dame, then Indiana's Notre Dame today, right now. Football. We're Notre Dame. You're not Notre Dame. Why are you Notre Dame? Newt Rockne. He did not go to IU because Notre Dame gave him a little bit more of a paycheck back in 1920. That is why Notre Dame is what they are today, because they got good and the fans cared and they poured money into it and they have been what they are. That's just facts. It's just the way that it works. You have to go back. Literally, you do not have Nick Saban without Bear Bryant.
Mhm.
You don't have that. Bear Bryant built Bama football, had all those championships, turned it into the program we think today. And then they sucked for a little bit, but then they got Saban. And then they did it again, even better. Alabama football will be nothing without those two guys. Just like Notre Dame wouldn't be without Lou Holtz, Newt Rockne, and a couple other guys. All these programs had to have somebody first, a commitment, a level of care put into that program. And that's what people don't understand. All these programs didn't get where they're at because of nothing. Somebody had to give a crap. Somebody had to want to win. And then the fans follow. I don't know why that's such a hard concept here. Indiana football could have been a great program. They just never actually cared. Ever. They just never cared, literally, to win. So that's the thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy concept. But I mean, all these programs that win today, kudos to them for building a program way back when, and their fans followed. The fans came. They were created, rather, like literally out of nothing. Because I mean, there was no fans when football first started. When Rutgers and Princeton or whatever, when they first played or whatever, like this was nothing. It was just started. I mean, Rutgers played the first football game. Why are they not good? Anybody think about that? I mean, you think Rutgers would be the best freaking program ever because they started football. They suck. Why? Because no one cares. There's no Rutgers fans. Why? Because they don't win. They never tried to win. I mean, it's very simple. It's actually very simple. I mean, have you ever thought about that, Will? I mean, I'm sure you do, but like, I don't think a lot of people do. Have you ever thought about that?
Not really.
I do all the time. I love thinking about it. And that's why I miss when football was more about that. The history, why it is the way it is today. Where now it's this. Like, I'm glad Indiana's winning, but it is frustrating that it literally took until this system for IU to win. Like nobody tried to win before. But now that money's involved and they got a coach that's good, like let's do it. But like we could have done this a long time ago. Never happened. I mean, they never supported Bill Mallory. Bill Mallory got one player a year: Anthony Thompson, Von Dunbar, Trent Green, and that's it. And it's like, good luck, man. Good luck. Have a good fight. Don't go 7-5. Whatever. Like, you know, they didn't give a crap. I mean, Antoine Randall was one of the best quarterbacks ever in college football, and yet his best team went 5-6. He didn't have any players around him.
Great receiver for the Steelers too.
It's just pathetic. Like all you would have needed for that team to go 9-3 or 9-2 or whatever, because they only played 11 games this season, is just to have one other like decent player. Literally, it's just one other guy. But nope, Indiana just didn't give a dang, and now they do. But I mean, it's just I feel like it's almost more the rule change though, and that's why people hate Woody so bad, because Woody has money. They bought all these players this offseason, Rice and Ballo and Carlisle, and they still suck. I mean, they're 12-3, but they just don't look good, man. I mean, like, people are going to start getting after Hubert Davis. I mean, yeah, Carolina's looking a little better, but I mean, you got to win, dude. I mean, if you got all this money, you got to win. That's why Brian Kelly's on fire. That's why Lincoln Riley's smoking. That's why Venables is on fire. These dudes are on fire because, man, you're making a lot of money. Your school's got a lot of money. You're paying guys a lot of money, but you suck. That's a bad look, man. Like Archie Miller, I couldn't hate on Archie too bad because his team's legitimately sucked. He didn't have any good players. He had Jackson Davis, Morgan, and Langford. That was it. The rest of the team was trash, right? And they weren't paying dudes that basically anything. And now you got Woody, and he's paying guys $1 million a year, and they're trash still. I mean, like that's the difference. It's a whole new ball game. That's why guys are getting fired faster than ever before. I used to sympathize with coaches. I was on the sympathy train where I was like, man, don't fire that guy. He's doing all right. Now it's like you could turn a program around in 1 year, dude. 1 freaking year. You can turn around like Dillingham and Signetti and DeBoer at Washington. I mean, I know Dillingham technically was 2 years, but you're just saying the one bad year to the one good year. But it's like now that you can do that, you can't just keep keeping these dudes that are like 4 or 5 years in and you just keep losing. So it's completely changed the game. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. Like you said, with Congress, they get involved, but football's just completely it's it's a lion's den right now. It's crazy. It's a mess. But I'm done. That's just my thoughts on a lot of things. I don't even know what to even call that, quantify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's a shame. I'm sorry about Indiana. I'm sorry about Newt Rockney not going to Indiana. I mean, it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see, like, if it could have been like if Indiana would have done everything that Notre Dame did to get good, man. I don't know.
It's all good. I just think it's funny though because I
like,
read a story. I did read a story back in like 1919 that he
Mhm.
almost went to IU,
Yeah.
and then the last minute was like Notre Dame's like.
Well, he went to Notre Dame too. Yeah, he went to Notre Dame.
Rockney, you're gonna be our coach, and Indiana didn't even bother. It's like, okay. And then the rest is history. I mean, it's just fun. Funny thing about it is that before that, Indiana's record in the 1910s and 1900s was pretty decent. They actually were pretty decent because they said, like, when you look at like all-time winningest coach, like Mallory's the all-time winningest coach, obviously, in wins, even though they had a losing record. But all those early coaches for Indiana, most of them had a winning record. But like they went like 3-1 or 4-1, you know, like all those early seasons. Like they did pretty good early on. But once the Rockney thing fell through, Indiana started getting a lot worse until the 40s when they had the Rose Bowl year. But then the coach that they had left to the NFL, and then he died of a heart attack 2 years later anyway. So even if he had stayed at IU, I mean, we don't know if he'd have died, but he probably would have. So, and then they just didn't care again. And then they got Lee Corson. They did nothing from like the 40s to the 70s. I mean, you had John Pont, 67, it was nothing. And then Corso, and then Mallory. It's just trash, and then more trash. It's just they never did anything. But you can't tell me that with a good coach and commitment way back when, even it didn't have to be Rockney. It just needed to be somebody. Could have been Bear Bryant, could have been anybody, but they just didn't care. They didn't try. And Notre Dame did. That's why I give credit to Notre Dame. Notre Dame deserved to be where they're at, and Indiana didn't. Indiana didn't try, man. I think when Branch McCracken started winning in Indiana basketball, they just didn't care. I just think they're just like, well, whatever. Like, because what happened was, and this is true, and you know this is true, there are a lot of people that are Notre Dame football fans and Indiana basketball fans. They actually
and that live in Indiana. Yeah.
They do. And why is that? Because when they were growing up watching McCracken in the 30s and 40s, and then they had kids and they were watching Knight in the 70s and 80s, Lou Holtz, Rockney, all that's what happened. So it's like, we love Notre Dame football because they win, and we love IU basketball because they win. Now it's kind of getting muddied because Indiana basketball just don't win. Indiana football is now starting to win. So it's like, So it's weird now. Notre Dame football will always be supreme. But it's just going to be interesting to see if you do have some crossover, you know, like support. Like I don't know. I have seen some Notre Dame fans say, like, they are supporting IU. Because a lot of them do like Indiana basketball. So they're like, hey, we'll support IU football. You know, but we still like Notre Dame more. But, like, you know, Indiana, like a lot of them were happy for Indiana. They were. And then until they had to play them. And then they were like, kill them, Notre Dame. But it's like, you know, it's just funny, though. I think it's funny. It's just a weird dynamic. It's just something that I've always thought about. But I mean, like I said, Notre Dame deserved to be good because they put the commitment in. Didn't you say there was another top 10 ranking on here? Or is this the only one?
That was the one, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was another one.
Do you know? Did you ever? You never saw? Did you ever see like the new Rockney movie and the Rudy movie?
I did see Rudy. Yes, I did see that one. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Hoosiers and Rudy. I mean, they're great movies. They're fantastic movies.
Did you know? So did you know who played like the main player character, the Gipper in the new Rockney movie?
I can't remember. Tell me who was
Reagan.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Yep. I couldn't remember. I've seen it once, like 8-9 years ago. I couldn't remember. Yeah. But it is a really good movie, though. That's funny.
Yeah, that's how he got famous as an actor, and then he became a politician afterwards.
Yep. That's wild, man. That's wild. It's crazy.
But do you want to look at NFL for a sec?
Sure, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I don't mind we go off about the NFL for a little bit. We got Sammy Wilkins saying next month, soon, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, the NFL, I can't believe we're already in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, Chargers, Texans.
Oof. Oh boy. Man, Herbert's statistical year though, man.
Yeah,
23 touchdowns, three picks. The Texans faded.
they did
Now,
fade. So I'm picking the Chargers. I mean,
okay.
although like a lot of people thought the Bears would win, I think the Texans were better last year, even though they got Mixon.
Yeah, didn't they have some injuries too though?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, there was a couple injuries. I think that didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take LA
Yeah.
24-17.
Yeah, I don't know. Stroud just doesn't look as confident in the pocket. Like his throws are just worse too, man. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, Texans faded. They played well early on, but they
Yeah.
got worse.
I'll go third.
When I was still picking the games week by week, I picked the Texans a couple times, and then
Yeah.
I kept getting it wrong, so I was like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll go. I guess I'll go 24-10 Chargers, and then
That's
Steelers
fair.
Ravens. The Steelers faded too, man.
Dude, the Steelers. Then they lose their last 4, or was it 5?
Yeah.
Well, I know
Four.
they had a big losing streak.
Yeah.
Look at Lamar's stats, man.
Mm-hmm.
41 touchdowns, and then King Henry, man.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, and then Zay, dude, no. Ravens,
Yeah.
28-10.
Yeah, I'll go 31-14, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see George Pickens last game, man? He was stinking.
Oh, dude, he saw, and then he was yelling at the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was yelling at the crowd, dude. Fryermuth was trying to calm him down. He's like, bro, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot go off at your own fans. Like that's almost as bad as Antonio Brown walking out. Like you can't do that. It's not as bad, but like you cannot do that. I mean, Pickens had a bad game. He sucked. He was dropping everything. He's running routes wrong. He's played terrible, but you cannot go off at the fans that support you, man. The people that buy your jersey, the people that are out there watching the game in the 10-degree weather. Do not do that. Like, they might be booing you a little bit, but you deserve it. Like, come on. I don't know. I was a little frustrated at Pickens there. He was terrible. But, yeah, I think the Ravens take this one easy. This one's interesting.
We'll go Broncos, Bills first. We'll go in order.
Yeah, okay. So, Bills, I mean, they played great most of the season. I mean, they kind of were the forgotten team, honestly. Like everybody's talking about, the Chiefs and the Lions and stuff like that, but the Bills were the forgotten team. They had a good season. Played very well. Josh Allen was crisp, actually running the ball well, something that he's needed the whole time, right? I mean, that's the thing that's hurt Josh Allen the most throughout his career, is that he has not had enough support, especially in the run game. But Cook's been good. I mean, I know some people are gonna be like, "Well, the Broncos beat the Chiefs." No, come on, Chiefs did not try, man. They wanted this, like you said. They did not want Joe Burrow. They didn't want Joe Cool. I'm happy for Nix. I mean, he had a good rookie year. Compared to most rookies. I mean, way better than Bryce Young at the Panthers. Definitely looked more like C.J. Stroud his rookie year. Definitely a very good year for Nix. I think the Bills win, though. They're at home, man. I mean, 31-17.
Yeah, I'll go 38-20. I think they roll. Their offense rolls them over.
Yeah, this game right here, Packers, Eagles, man, Christian Watson's out.
Yeah, but will Jalen Hurts play? Jalen Hurts still hasn't practiced.
What do you think? I mean, if he doesn't play, who's the backup again? Because I cannot remember.
It'll be Tanner McKee.
He did have a good game.
Yeah.
If I recall. I couldn't remember who played, but I know
because Kenny Pickett broke his rib, so Kenny Pickett's out too. Yeah.
I mean, Barkley, man.
Yeah.
Barkley. He had a good year. I don't know. I mean, the Eagles had a great season.
I would love the Eagles to lose, but
I know you would. And I'm sure Alston would as well, despite the fact Dallas is not even in the thing. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I probably would prefer the Packers to win, but I mean, with the NFL, I just don't really care. I don't really have like grievances, like teams I can't stand as much as with college. And really with college, it's more so I try not to like dislike any team. It's more the coaches or certain players that irritate me versus the team. The same thing with the NFL. I mean, like if there's like a player or coach is just I can't stand, then because of how they are, then yeah, I don't want them to win. But then I mean, I don't really have anything against the Eagles overall. I mean, they're not my favorite team by no means. They're definitely toward the bottom. But I mean, if Hurts plays, they're winning. Simple as that. But I mean, that kind of complicates things since we don't know. Because I mean, Tanner McKee's not experienced at all, and he had a good game last week. Doesn't mean that he's going to be ready for this game. I'll let you pick first.
I'll just go with my head and not my heart. I'll pick the Eagles to win 31-28.
I'll go 24-20 Eagles since we don't know. I'll pick it by more, but since we don't know. It's going to be tough at home, though.
And Commanders, Buccaneers.
Yeah, Tampa Bay favored by a home spread, so it's basically an even game.
Yeah.
I mean, Baker had a lot of picks, but he had a lot of touchdowns. Had a good season, I guess. And, I mean, they made the playoffs. The Falcons choked it away at the end, even if they had a won against the Panthers, they wouldn't have got in anyway. The thing is that the Commanders had such a weird year because they started out great, and then they had the skid.
Yeah. Jane Daniels was playing hurt. That's why.
True. But they had the skid, and then after that, they killed it again, won the last 5. So, I mean, if you're going off the way that they're playing right now, I mean, I would probably pick Washington, but it's also his first playoff game, and it's on the road. I mean, Jane Daniels has been incredible, but I mean, it's tough to know how he's going to do in his first.
I just need to know, I want Lattimore to be healthy to guard Mike Evans. That's a big.
Mike Evans is still insane. I mean, the fact that he's been consistent. I don't know how many more years he's going to keep it up, but 11 straight seasons of 1,000 yards is incredible. It is. I don't know. This is kind of tough. This is the coin flip game, honestly. I'll let you pick first again.
I mean, since it's close, I'm just going to pick my team to win 31-28.
I don't really want to pick against you, man. I don't.
It's all right.
I mean, I don't know. This is 50-50. I mean, honestly, I haven't really watched either team. I mean, I don't get either team that much on TV, the local, but you get the local game. I mean, I've probably seen the Bucks I saw them with the Panthers, obviously. I've seen them probably 3 times. I've seen the Commanders once. I've seen one game. So I don't know. I mean, I just going off what I know. I get the Eagles all the time. I get the Eagles a lot. I get certain teams, but I just don't get these two. You know what? I'll go with Jaden Daniels. I don't. It's a 50-50 game. I'll go 24-20. I don't really know. I mean, Baker's all right. He is a good quarterback, but I mean, he has moments where he can screw up, and Jaden Daniels is a rookie, so he could screw up. So I could see it being a fight to the finish, and maybe Jaden Daniels makes an incredible Hail Mary pass again, like he did earlier in the year. So maybe that will happen.
Yeah. And then Vikings-Rams, the last game.
Oof. Well, they got this one as a coin flip too.
Yeah.
Kinda. I don't know what to make of the Vikings, man. I feel like of all the teams that have the great records, like the 13-4 and up, I feel like they're the worst team. I really do. You know what I'm saying? Like you just feel like, yeah, they had a good season, but it just kind of feels like they won a lot of games close, and that they're not really maybe as good as their record is.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, Darnold just throws it to Jefferson, and then the Vikings pull out a win. That's happened a bit.
Yeah, it's just the cheat code. I mean, I'm not like Darnold had a redemption year. Did great. I mean, But when he's not throwing it to Jefferson, he can make mistakes. 12 picks. I mean, he threw some bad throws.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams weren't that good though.
They weren't. Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, I mean they were better.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, forgot they made the playoffs. They won their division.
I'm happy for Kyron Williams that they got in.
Yeah, he's good. I know Notre Dame. He was really good
Mm-hmm.
this season. I mean, Puka and Cooper Kupp when healthy are fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I forgot about this game. I don't trust the Vikings, man. I really don't. I could see them choking here, but I mean, like you said, it could be at the end and then Jefferson. Like, this is a one-score game. This is a one-score game. The Rams are at home, but I mean, dude, it's not a big advantage, you know. Like,
It's gotten better, I feel like a bit, but
a
still
little
not
bit,
huge.
a little bit, man. But every time I watch them play, it's like there's so many of the opposing team's fans because they love traveling to LA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just because the Rams and the Chargers share the stadium. It's just they just don't have that. You know, I don't know how to explain it. They don't have the like. There's some teams like Dallas. Like Dallas sucks, but like you know, like right now, but like Jerry World, like it's their home stadium. They got that environment, whatever. Like college football teams have like their environments, their home stadiums, the culture, everything. Whereas with the Rams and the Chargers, two teams that weren't even originally there. The Rams were in St. Louis. The Chargers were in San Diego. There's nothing. It just feels wrong. It still does,
The
even all these
Rams
years later.
isn't as bad because they're LA, then to St. Louis, not back to LA.
True, that's true.
It's a little better.
So there is roots there. I agree that their fans are better overall, but it's just they were in St. Louis for a long time, and you know, that's what I associate them as when I was a kid. But I mean, yeah, you are right that it's getting better. But I still think it's rather pathetic compared to other stadiums. So I mean, I just don't think that's going to be that big of an advantage. I picked the favorite every time. Are you going underdog this time?
I'll pick the Vikings. I mean, the Commanders were the home spread dog, but I'll go with the Vikings. The Rams' offense is just too stop and start, so I'll go with the Vikings to win.
Yeah, technically the Commanders were underdogs, but you know what I mean. Like, kind of feels like you're picking favorites every time. I don't like doing that, but they're favored for a reason. Yeah, I know Washington's not, but like that was the one where I was gonna pick Tampa Bay, so I guess I picked an upset. I'll go Vikings, I guess.
Yeah,
24-21. I think it'll be close. I think Jefferson pulls it out at the end. With a touchdown reception, but I'm not that confident. And I mean, the Rams have good players, but they're just not that great. And I feel like the Vikings are overrated, but I guess the Vikings will pull it out. Samuel Wilkinson asked, Chiefs playoffs win or loss. It's too early to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, again, they're the favorite until they lose, in my opinion. And I think anybody that says otherwise, I mean, you're just splitting hairs. I mean, if you say the Lions, I mean, that's fair. I mean, it is. But I'm just saying, like, the Chiefs, because, if the Chiefs somehow end up winning it all again, which I do hope they don't, because just shut it up. It is annoying. I don't hate the Chiefs. Even with the Swift Kelsey stuff, that's kind of died down, I guess, a little bit. But that was a pain. That was annoying. That was dumb. But overall, like I don't hate the Chiefs. It's just like when teams start to win and win and win, I do want them to get knocked off because it gets old, like with Georgia. But the thing is that if the Chiefs do end up winning it all this year, it's going to be so annoying when they go up there and they're like, "Oh, no one believed in us. No one." It's like, dude, you've already done this before, man. Like, do you? You know, you do you, and you want to believe in your head that no one believes in you to give you that fire and fuel to win. That's fine. Do that. But if you think in your head that nobody thinks you can win, you're insane. You're absolutely insane. They don't believe that though. They're just saying it because. But the Chiefs, in my opinion, you know, unless you want to say the Lions, they should be treated as the favorites to win it all until they lose, in my opinion. Because they basically are. I mean, I like I said, the Lions really do have a big case, but I mean, the Chiefs won it all last year, and I mean, they had an elite season until they decided to not show up in the final week for obvious reasons. But I mean, they did have a lot of close games too. But I mean, until they lose, you kind of just got to assume, they're going to keep winning. So we'll see. I think there are a lot of teams that can beat them this year, though.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I agree.
I think it's going to be fun. I mean, honestly, I think the NFL playoffs, I could be wrong, but I think the NFL playoffs here might be more fun than the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Do you agree with that? I mean, I know it's kind of hard to say because Notre Dame's in the playoff, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of teams that can win it all with this. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's about 4 or 5 teams that could win it all. And I know in college football it's the same way, but really coming down to it, it doesn't look that good with the college football playoffs. But I mean, hey, maybe these last 2 games will be good. We'll see, or last couple of games. But the NFL playoffs have the potential to be really good. But maybe they'll all be blowouts too. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeffrey, we covered a lot today.
Oh, yeah, it was a fantastic show, man. Talked about state of college football again, probably for the 80th time, but we'll keep doing it. Talk about some NFL. Hey, the NFL coverage was fun. Like, I'm glad we got to do that. We'll maybe try to do that again next week if we're able to, next week when we're able to and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, covered the portal. Had a ton of fun, man. Definitely enjoyed it. Samuel Wilkins saying next live stream start time. Maybe, again, try to shoot for next Tuesday if possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Monday. We try to do it on Monday sometimes, but if I'm available, but we'll see. Definitely try to do it again next week. And again, appreciate if Jackson's still awake for the super chat. Appreciate that, Jackson, a whole bunch, and do appreciate all you guys for being here tonight. Definitely, thanks for stopping by, Samuel, and can't wait to hopefully see you next time. But looking forward to the college football playoff games, and good luck, Will. Good luck to Notre Dame.
Thank you, brother. See you guys next time.
Thanks for being here, everybody.